to say a real, very big thank you. And just that everybody knows, so my history, having met Dr. Vignesh, was, I'm going to put you on large so I can see everybody now. Does it go to, there we go. Was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago, and oh, everybody's frozen. I hope that you can hear me still. So can somebody give me a thumbs up if you still...
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Thanks, Mati. So 2 years ago, I heard about Sitaram. I heard about a Panchakarma a couple of years ago, and one of my colleagues had said to me they were going to go and do a Panchakarma. The truth is, I saw this colleague of mine when he came back. I saw what he looked like before, and then I saw him when he came back, and it was unbelievable, the difference. And for me, I had just finished finishing chemo. I finished my treatment, kind of struggled a little bit post it, went and did a Panchakarma. And it's not specifically, and Dr. Vignesh will go in, to what it is. It's not to say it's specifically for cancer treatments, but it's definitely for rebooting the body and the immune system. It was a life-changing experience for me. I don't think I could have healed as effectively as I did without having done it. So without further ado, I just want to say thank you and welcome. And Dr. Vignesh, the kitchen is yours.
So let's start the cooking.
I'd love that.
Do you, is it okay if we do a few second silent meditation?
Sure, absolutely.
But I will be talking, you all can be silent. So it will be like a guided meditation.
Lovely, okay.
Okay, we can keep our eyes closed. Relax your jaws. Relax your neck. Relax your shoulders. Relax your chest, your abdomen, your lower back. Relax your hips. Relax your knees. Relax your ankles. And let your whole body relax. And bring your awareness to your breathing. And feel the energy that is in your body, that is keeping you alive. The energy that is making your heart beat. The energy that is making us to listen to these words. And let us take this moment to be grateful to the body that we are living in right now. No matter how we treat our body is still there with us. The only home that we truly live in. And let us thank each and every cell in our body. In spite of any abuse, misuse, it's still there to keep us alive and enjoy the beauty of this life. And many times we take our body for granted. And when we are grateful for our body, our healing becomes effortless. And slowly you can open your eyes. Okay, so today we talk about Panchakarma, right, Elaine?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I will restrict to 45 minutes and then we can keep around 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A. Okay, then I will go to sleep.
Okay.
So before explaining Panchakarma, I will tell one story. The story is about a father is reading his morning newspaper with his cup of coffee. And his little son starts disturbing him for his attention. So when he is not so happy that his son is bothering his morning newspaper time, he realizes he has to keep his son engaged. So what he does is, there is a page in the newspaper where he sees the world map. So he tears that part, tears it into a few more pieces and gives to his son and tells his son, go and fix the world map and come back. But to his surprise, his son manages to fix the world map within few minutes. And his father is like, oh my God, my son is a prodigy. How did he manage to do that? So he asked son, when did you learn how to fix a world map so fast? And son said, no, I didn't do the world map. Behind that paper of world map, there was a face of a man. And all I did was put the face of the man together and the world map was just there. So this is the approach, what we do in Panchakarma. We don't go to the nitty-gritties of all the other aspects. We just fix everything together. So the other side is just going to be there. Now, let us understand few differences between Western medicine and Ayurveda. Because once we understand the difference, it becomes so much easier where we should use which aspect when it comes to our health. And please do understand, today we see a lot of alternative doctors blaming the Western medicine, and the Western medicine not accepting therapies like yoga or meditation or Ayurveda, saying it is like quack or leftover people. But let us understand why this is happening. And before that, there is a significant difference between the approach between these two. Now, in Ayurveda, we have this concept. Well, Ayurveda, it has its origin from the Vedas. So we have this concept called, we have 5 layers in our body. The 5 layers are, see, whatever food we eat, that has become our body today. Food, air, the water that we drink. This is all becoming the body that we see in our physical senses. Like we can touch, we can see it. But there is something beyond our physical presence, which we call it as pranamaya kosha. There's like a prana, there's like an energy that we cannot sense it completely. And beyond that, there is a mind, and beyond that, there is an enlightened stage. So like that, there are 5 layers that comprises, that makes our body what it is. But in Western medicine, after the Isaac Newton, he came up with the, when the apple fell on his head, and he started questioning, why is the apple falling on my head? Why not it is not going somewhere else? Then he came up with the laws of physics, which that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And he came up with 2 other rules, like laws that, when something is inert, it will stay inert. If it is moving, it will continue to stay in that motion. Now, he came up with mathematical formulas, how the movement and everything works in the world. After that theory came up, which was fantastic, which led to so many great inventions and discoveries. But what happened was, because that was such a great discovery, Western medicine was highly influenced from that, which means they started looking at the human body just the way we look at a physical robot or a machinery or a mechanics. But our body is way beyond that. And that is why, see, when we say our body has 5 different layers according to the Vedic science, that is the food layer, the prana layer, the mind layer, and then the wisdom layer, and then the enlightenment, which is called as Vijnanamaya Kosha, and then there is one more layer, I forgot the name. So the physical layer, or what we call it as the food shape, is only 20% of our body. And if you see the Western medicine, they have about 80% of the diseases that are mentioned in the textbooks are diseases of unknown cause. See, imagine if you do not know the cause of a problem, you cannot cure or solve that problem. And trying to treat a disease where you do not know the cause is as good as playing Russian roulette. Maybe it works, you get a symptomatic relief, but it's not a real healing that is happening there. So, but in Ayurveda, that is why we look at it as a holistic approach. But at the same time, we have to understand Western medicine is fantastic when it comes to emergency management. Somebody gets a heart attack, you give them to a good cardiologist with all the necessary equipments in the intensive care unit. His life comes back within minutes. Same way, so much of accident, emergency care, modern medicine is just fantastic and phenomenal when it comes to that. However, when it comes to things like lifestyle diseases, metabolic diseases, the chronic diseases that are happening, unfortunately, the same approach that the modern medicine is applying for emergency care will not work when it comes to many other aspects, because our body is not just the physical layer. It is something way beyond our physical layer. Now, let us try to understand some rules. If you tell a person, like just 50 years ago, not even 50 years ago, just 3 decades ago, if you tell them, I can look into a screen and talk to people about 10,000 miles away and so many different people, they would think that that's a James Bond fiction movie. But now this is a reality, and this is how our energy is transferred. Now, one of the most powerful energy transmitting router that the Mother Nature has created is our brain. See, when somebody is calling, suddenly we feel, okay, I think I know who's calling, but when you see, oh, he's calling, he or she's calling, because we are so connected. And if you ever, I'm sure we all go to YouTube for binge watching once in a while. Just Google this concept called as Eugene's pendulum theory. Eugene's pendulum theory is about, there are 2 pendulums kept. One pendulum, once it starts moving and the other is moving on a different wavelength, within few seconds, both the pendulum will become in harmony. And even though they are not connected, but there is an energy transmission that goes together that keeps the pendulum moving together. Like it goes in perfect harmony. Now you can Google Eugene's pendulum work. You will understand what it means. The same way, there is an energy that is beyond our sense organs can understand. Like for example, there is a limit how much sound hertz our ears can hear. The dogs or animals can hear something beyond that. And there is so much things beyond what our touch is possible to feel. There is something beyond what our vision can see. There is something beyond what science can understand. Now, the reason why many people question science like Ayurveda, the best analogy that I can give is, once there was a gentleman, he was searching for his key. And suddenly a police officer comes and asks him, sir, what are you looking for? And the gentleman says, I'm searching for the key that I lost. And then the policeman asks him, are you sure you lost it here? And the gentleman says, no, actually I lost it few blocks before. But then the police officer asks, then why are you searching it here when you lost it few blocks before? He said, but this is the only place where there is light. So this is how the Western medicine is looking at our body, because only if something can be replicated in a laboratory setting, it is considered to be scientific. Now, why I give these explanations before I get into the topic is so we understand what is known is only a drop, the unknown is an ocean. So this is just to prepare you that what I'm going to say, this is maybe if we look at what are the scientific facts, the laboratory has limits to understand this. So by understanding this, we are just being more open to the unknown. We are being more open to things, even though there is no light. Maybe there is still something that's where I lost something. So this is the aspect that we have to look, not just when it comes to science, it's also to our own life. So in Ayurveda, the human body is called as Sharira. The word Sharira in Sanskrit means something that keeps dying continuously, or something that keeps dying every moment. So our body is a constant dying mechanism. You know, like the Vedic philosophy says, you can never step into the same river twice. The river keeps flowing. So when the river keeps flowing, even though the river appears to be the same, the water is different. The same way, our body is continuously different every moment. What you see today, I am a different person tomorrow. And some scientists claim every 11 months we are a new person. Some scientists say every 9 years we are a different person. But according to scientists, except for the lens of our eyes, everything else renews over time. Okay, even though at which time it is renewing, that's a different question. But we are a constantly regenerating mechanism. So what that means is we are a constant waste eliminating mechanism. Now, when we say waste eliminating, see the difference between a living body and a dead body stops eliminating waste, whereas a living body is continuously eliminating waste. Now, how to know if we are alive? You are breathing. When we breathe, what is happening? We are eliminating the carbon dioxide. Now, when we say the heartbeat is there, that's why I'm alive. What it means is when there is heartbeat, the blood is circulating. When the blood is circulating, the lymphatic system is activated and the kidneys are activated, and then we eliminate our waste. The waste can be urine, poop, sweat, carbon dioxide. And according to Ayurveda, there are many other wastes, including the tears. The hair is considered to be a waste. The nails are considered to be a waste because we cut it off and chop it off. And we don't die when we eliminate that. So when our waste elimination is slightly hampered, then the quality of our energy comes down, and that is when our health is also affected. The word health comes from heal, and the word heal comes from holy. So the heal is the way we connect to the whole. In fact, I was doing a podcast interview with an astrologist, and she was saying the word universe consists of two words, that is uni and verse. The verse means it's like a song or a poem, and uni means one song. Universe means one song. Same way, our connection to the whole or infinity or the totality, that is what is called as healing. Because even though we consider ourselves to be individual, but we all are interconnected. Maybe our sense organs are limited, but there is a connection that is beyond what our sense organs or our thinking logical mind can understand. In Hindu philosophy, we have a god called as Hanuman. And Hanuman is a very revered god in Hinduism religion. And he has the face of a monkey and the body of a human being. And why people pray to Lord Hanuman, there is a story behind that. Even though, you see, there is only 1.36% difference between our DNA and the DNA of our erstwhile monkey ancestors. It's only that much difference. And many scientists claim that the evolution was quite quick from the monkey or chimpanzee to human beings, considering how it took before. And we were finding where was that missing link. It was super quick. Suddenly something got deleted. That's what they say. But the story of this Hanuman is, we all are animals, which means we all have a need for survival, because animals, one of the greatest needs of animal is survival. You know, once you give food, they are happy. Once you give them the basic needs, they are happy. But we are something more beyond than animals. And that is why we can be animals at the same time we can be God. We can be as bad or worse than animals at the same time we can be as great as God. And that is what makes human beings special. Now, the symbol of Hanuman is there is an animal inside us, and when we overcome that animalistic, that is where we reach the highest form, highest potential of being a human being. Now, in this life, as we live as a human being, the foundation for anything that we want to achieve is good health. And that good health comes from taking care of our body. And in Ayurveda, it is mentioned, see, in modern medicine, the cause for a disease, Louis Pasteur, he came up with this theory called germ theory. And the germ theory is, Louis Pasteur got his microscope. So whenever he saw people are falling sick, he took the body fluids and he saw that the body fluids had microbes. Microbes could be bacteria, fungus, or virus. So he thought people are sick and their body fluids are having microbes. So that means microbes or the germs are the cause of the disease. Now, let us try to reanalyze this factor. Of course, when you look at it that way, people are sick and their body fluids are having microbes. So that definitely look like there is a possibility that microbes are the cause of the disease. Now we take another analogy. Now imagine there is a city and every city produces a lot of waste. Now imagine people who are supposed to collect the waste, they go on a strike saying that we are not going to collect these waste anymore till we get higher wages or more benefits. So what happens? All these waste starts piling up, and soon these high wastage load, they will start attracting the rats, because the rats will go and eat these waste, and what these rats will do is they will go and put the leftover waste to other parts of the city. And depending on which part of the world the city is, if it's in India, you'll have a lot of stray dogs as well, along with these rats. Now, what happens is, once you see all these rats eating these waste and putting the leftovers in other parts of the city, imagine a new tourist is coming to the city and he sees that, oh my God, look at all the waste these rats are creating. Now, the only way I can save the city from this pollution is I have to kill these rats. Now, this is what the Louis Pasteur's germ theory is. Like, we are blaming the rats, but we are not looking at what is the first place that created the rats to come and do this. Of course, killing the rats could benefit a little bit. It's a symptomatic relief. But better rats will come and say that I will find a way to continue this. That is why we have to keep on upgrading the antibiotics, because the antibiotic resistance keeps happening. Because we are not considering why these rats are coming in the first place. And according to Ayurveda, this waste that is being piled up in our body is called as ama. The word ama means anything that which is not me. See, the food that I'm eating, if I'm not able to blend this food into my blood or into part of my body, this becomes a potential ama. It is like, some guest comes to your home and they don't want to leave your home, and they keep a lot of problems at your home, and they're not able to blend with the culture at home. They become a nuisance at the home. So he's a typical ama. Any information that you get in your head and it keeps on creating a lot of anxiety or unwanted problems, then it's a potential ama. The more ama we have, the more problems we will have. So that is why in Ayurveda, a state of best health is considered as niramaya, which means a state where the body is having the least ama in the system. Now, according to Ayurveda, every disease can be classified into two types: diseases of malnourishment and diseases of overconsumption. Now, let us understand what are the diseases of malnourishment or undernutrition. Diseases like vitamin deficiency or anemia or anorexia or dehydration. All these are diseases of undernourishment or malnourishment. And you have diseases of overconsumption like obesity or high levels of cholesterol, thyroid irregulations, hormonal imbalances, and things like high levels of uric acid. Now, all these are diseases of, or diabetes, all these are diseases of overnutrition. Now, in Ayurveda, it is mentioned among these two types of diseases, diseases of malnourishment and diseases of overconsumption. Diseases of malnourishment are much easier to treat than diseases of overconsumption. Why? Because let's say we are having dehydration, you just go and drink water, it's solved. Let's say we are having vitamin deficiency, you get some vitamin supplements or make sure the food has the right vitamins and the minerals, and once you take it, your deficiency is changed. But let's say you are having high levels of cholesterol or high levels of uric acid, or you have diabetes or high blood pressure. You cannot just eliminate that. The reason is nature did not create a regulator for your consumption. I mean, our consumption can become unlimited. But when it comes to waste elimination, nature created a limit. For example, there is a limit how much uric acid you can eliminate per day. There is a limit how much of water can be eliminated. I mean, in a normal healthy person. But there is no limit how much you can eat. You can keep on eating. So that is why once it goes inside, it's not that easy to eliminate. So that is why diseases of overnutrition is difficult to treat. However, when Ayurveda was being documented, by the way, Ayurveda is a science of living young and healthy for as long as possible. And Ayurveda is a documentation of what we understood from nature, how the nature is working, how things are going on. It was just documented. And if you understand the concepts of Ayurveda, everything is about how they saw nature and how what is happening, and they try to replicate, because we are great imitators. We human beings try to imitate, and that is how we learned many things from nature. So when you look at the diseases of overnutrition and undernutrition, and when you see why Ayurveda mentioned this, when Ayurveda was being documented, probably it was a time when people were living healthy with lots of abundant food supply. Otherwise, they wouldn't be writing about this. And they saw that so many people are having diseases of overconsumption where food was abundant. See, in order to have diseases of overconsumption, food availability has to be high. You will never see diseases of overconsumption in a place where there are food shortage. So when Ayurveda was being documented, it must have been in a community where food supply was abundant and people were suffering from this, and they realized this is quite dangerous, so we have to come up with a solution to solve this. And that is how they came up with this concept called as Panchakarma. Panchakarma is a therapy to keep our body safe, at the same time eliminating the toxins that our body is holding on to. And when we say eliminating toxin, it is not just getting rid of some stuff that is in our body. It's eliminating toxins from the nervous system and also from our mind. It is like a complete reset of our gut, a reset of our nervous system, and a reset of our whole life. It's like getting back to your factory settings, getting back to how it's like calibrating to your best self. And that is what Panchakarma does. But whatever I'm going to say, please don't try to do this at home. Of course, there are some therapies you can do at home, but it will be great if you take into consideration of an Ayurvedic practitioner or a professional. Or for example, Helen knows most of it. And if you take an advice of someone who has done it, only then please do it. Otherwise, don't try it at home. And what we do in Panchakarma is we prepare the body and we eliminate some toxins, and after the toxins are eliminated, we recover the body for the normal use of our life. Now, it is not necessary that everybody has to do Panchakarma. For some people, Panchakarma is not necessary. For example, if somebody is into active fitness and somebody is not into fitness at all, they have been binge eating and they are overweight, and if they go to, let's say, a fitness club for the first time, or if they're going to a yoga studio for the first time, what a real fitness person would do as warm-up would be the main exercise of someone who is coming to the first time of the gym. I hope you understand this. Like, for example, when we are going to a fitness club or yoga for the first time, we might do only warm-up, and that warm-up can appear to be the main exercise. But this warm up or main exercise, this main exercise for a beginner could be the warm up for a person who is regular into fitness. So in some people, we will just do the preparation of Panchakarma. That itself is a good therapy. In some people who needs Panchakarma, we will do the therapies. And some people we do the intense version of Panchakarma. But before that, let us also understand the mind-body connection. Now, stress is one of the most underrated causes of disease today than any other time. Now, by the way, before that, let me also, I spoke about the germ theory, and I said that the disease that are caused because there are lots of toxins in our body, and when you have toxins, you give access to a lot of germs to come, and these germs are actually helping us to get rid of these toxins. Now, let us understand, in Ayurveda, we have this concept called as natural urges, or in Sanskrit, it is called as Vegas. Now, when we say Vegas, it means like the body has natural urges. Like, for example, if you eat something and if the body doesn't like it, you might naturally vomit, or you might have a loose stools. And if you inhale something that your nose doesn't want, you might sneeze. And if there is something in your chest and the body doesn't want it, you might cough it up. So, and there are many urges like sneezing, crying, sleeping, hunger, and these are urges. And these urges are like the GPS. This is the way the body communicates how our body has to survive. Like, for example, if you are thirsty, it means the body needs more liquids or water. If you're hungry, means the body needs more food. By the way, there is a difference between hunger and craving. Hunger means our body wants nutrition, and craving means our bored mind wants entertainment. It's just a running away from something. So sugar makes me happy, and I will come back to that. Maybe in the Q&A you can ask me about emotional eating. I will answer about that. If I answer that, we are going out of topic. So in Ayurveda, it is mentioned, when we stop listening to our urges, when we start suppressing our urges over a period of time. Let's say, for example, usually my sleeping pattern is at 9 o'clock. But if I continue to get rid of my sleep at 9 o'clock, then I start going to sleep at 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning. And if I keep doing that, then I'm going against my natural body's intelligence. If I'm hungry and I'm not listening to my body and I'm suppressing it, maybe just with a cup of coffee, and then when I'm having access to food, I just binge eat, then again, I am not listening to my body's rhythm. See, everything in nature has a rhythm, has a cycle, has a connection. But it is only humans, after we created the industrial revolution and then Edison came up with the bulb, we started working 3 shifts a day, and we started thinking we can also be like computers, we can work anytime. But our body is not really designed for that. And we think that we don't need that. And today we live in a time when sleeping is considered to be a lazy person's hobby. And we think that I don't have to take rest, and we have to be constantly be busy. I have to get things done. It's like, we have reached a point where we started thinking, if we have 9 women, we can produce a baby in 1 month. I mean, that's the mentality we use in business. But if we use the same with our body, it doesn't work that way. So when we live in that kind of a lifestyle, our body is not having enough time to recover. Now, let us understand stress. Our brain is not designed to keep us happy. Our brain is designed to help us survive. Our brain is like about 200,000-year-old app. The problem with our evolution of nature is our brain is not being updated every September like they update many software. It is the same app that we had 200,000 years ago. And when this app was designed, the key function of this app was, when you see something moving, run after it, kill it, and eat it. And be aware of something that is moving, because if something is moving, that could be your lunch. And if you're not aware something is moving, you could be that lunch. You could be the lunch of that. So the moment you see something is there, we have to be alert and we have to run and escape. So our body was designed to run, escape, and look for what can harm you, because our life was always at stake. We didn't have the current security system that we created from the wild animals and nature like how it was before. So when you see something dangerous coming to threaten your life, what happens is we think that I have to run. And when how that energy comes is suddenly there is a release of the hormone from adrenaline or the adrenal glands. Adrenal means, renal means the kidneys, and adrenal means just above the kidneys. There is a gland called adrenal glands, which releases the hormones that gives all the energy to the large muscles in our legs and arms. These are the muscles that helps us to run and be strong. So when the cortisol is one of the hormones that is released, we have so much of energy and power to run and escape and survive. This is a fantastic phenomena. The hormonal release is fantastic to help us survive from any dangerous situation, as long as you are resting and recovering. Resting and recovering means once you have that enormous bout of cortisol release, the nervous system and the muscles need to go through a recovery period. Recovery period means at least 8 hours to 12 hours of rest. And during this rest, that is when our body releases whatever the cortisol was released. Body eliminates that so that we can go back to normal way. But if you are not recovering, this thing can get piled up, and we can get into so many diseases. And that is when our immune system goes down. See, when the cortisol is released, what is happening is it is signaling to the body, let us put all the majority of the energy to our muscles. Because see, when the coronavirus pandemic happened in the beginning, I mean, it is still going on, but in the beginning when it happened, everything went to a shock and said that everything has to shut down except for the non-essentials, like for the food, water, and things that are bare minimum required to keep us alive. So when the cortisol is released, when some tiger is coming to eat us, we need to run. At that time, our body is least worried about the bacterial infection in the feet or fungal infection somewhere else. So because that can be dealt with later, first thing is I have to be alive. And today, the same brain that used to behave that way when the tiger is chasing us, today it is behaving the same way when you read a news that is not happy or that is creating a lot of fear. When you get stuck in the traffic block thinking that you're going to be late for the meeting, or when you're not able to meet your deadline, the same way our brain is releasing this. Or you see that someone is not approving of you, or you're not having enough likes in your Facebook post or Instagram post. Whatever it is, the way the brain responds to something that is not comfortable, something that can create anxiety or fear, is the same way that our brain used to react in the past. When I say past, means 200,000 years ago. So today, we live in one of the most highest information overload that our nervous system cannot handle. I was reading one article by the then CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt. He was saying that after 2003, whatever information that was documented and recorded in the human being's history, after 2003, the same amount of information is generated every 2 days. And we are constantly exposed to so much of cognitive load. Cognitive load means, okay, the best example for a cognitive load is if you go to a high traffic junction. You see, okay, in India, if you go to Mumbai, there is this place called Marine Drive. There are cars, people are honking, you see billboards, there are people walking, and there are people coming and asking for money, and lots of things. Or if you go to Times Square, you see lots of lights and everybody is wanting your attention. And all of this information overload, our body is not designed for so many things. And one of the greatest myths that we hear today is called multitasking. There is no such thing called as multitasking. In fact, in Ayurveda, it is mentioned how our mind works. In Sanskrit, it is called as Anutvam cha Ekatvam, which means our mind can only do one thing at a time. And in fact, multitasking is just that I'm doing one thing at a time and immediately I'm shifting to something and I'm coming back to it. And this strategy of shifting and coming back is not something that is healthy for our nervous system. And people say they do it, but it is not the best way. It is actually, we are diluting our energy of our nervous system. So when our nervous system is amplified because of the overstimulated, because of the cortisol release, what happens is our immunity takes a hit. So when the immunity takes a hit, then our whole body's recovery ability is also affected. Then we fall sick much faster. We think that our health is low, and then we tend to eat a lot of sugar, junk food. And also, let me give you one example. There was a research done on two groups. Both the groups were made to watch two different respective documentaries. In one documentary, it was about something like a detective. You need to be staying alert. That it's quite boring, but if you have to understand that, you have to be sitting on the edge to understand what they're actually talking, and it really drains your energy to really understand what's going on in that documentary. The second group was watching an easy to understand documentary on how sports cars are made. It was fantastic music, and you can just sit with popcorn and understand this. It's so easy to watch. After these two groups watched their respective documentaries, they were tested to eat something that was available to eat. So they had only two options to eat. One was a healthy fruit salad, and then one was a heavy sugar, heavy cake. And what they found out, 90% of the people who watched the nervous system draining documentary, they selected the unhealthy cake. And 90% of the people who watched that easy to understand documentary, they selected the fruit salad. And what we have to understand from this is, when our nervous system is overstimulated and when we are in stress, our willpower goes for a toss, and we tend to get into unhealthy habits much faster. And the reason why we go for that sugar is, see, our brain is designed in such a way that if there is something that is sweet, that means you're going to have energy. And ancient times, our brain was designed in such a way that when you get food, eat as much as you want, because you don't know when the next food is going to come. But today, food supply is fantastic, and that is why the food industry is one of the greatest legal scams that are happening today. And what they're doing is, they know that we have this instinctive behavior. Whenever food is there, we want to eat and we want to distract ourselves. So that is why you see Burger King, McDonald's, Starbucks in every nook and corner. It's a sign, come eat, we are giving you entertainment. And today, eating is more of a gastronomic pleasure than for our energy and nutritional needs. And that is why more and more people are falling sick because of overconsumption. So in Ayurveda, when we do Panchakarma, it is not just about detoxing the body. It is resetting the whole nervous system. Now, when we say resetting the whole nervous system, for the best way to understand this, if you have a tendency to eat sugar, when you eat sugar constantly, you will realize your saturation, your sensitivity to sweet will go up. You need to eat a lot more sweet to feel that sweetness. Or if you ask people who drink, they will say that when they began drinking, they needed like half a glass of wine and they are high. And then they might need, then it reaches a point that they might need one bottle of wine or maybe 1.5 bottles of wine. Only then they can feel that heightened state. The same is with our nervous system. And today what is happening is, when people say I get bored easily, what they're saying is they are having a dopamine deficiency. Not deficiency is not the best word. They need a lot of stimulation to keep themselves active. And because of this, what is happening is people lose interest in doing what is meaningful. People are not able to focus on what is important, and rather they look for what are easy to do, things that are entertaining, that is stimulating. That is why we need constant stimulation. And this stimulation is actually a trained behavior because we are exposed to so much of stimulus. We think that's the only way we can get to. Every time you're stimulated with something, like every time you see somebody likes your Facebook message or posts or Instagram, or you see something, we are releasing dopamine. And dopamine is like a reward response of our body. And when you keep releasing dopamine, the dopamine level saturation also happens. Just like you need more alcohol to feel high, same way, the same thing that used to excite you at one point of time, once you keep doing it, you need to intensify the same pattern in order to have the same heightness. Now that is a very dangerous activity, and nobody is telling us how to detox from that. But Panchakarma is highly particular that when you do a Panchakarma, you also have to do a mental detox. And that is why these two goes in together. So how the preparation happens is, by the way, why I started Sitaram Beach Retreat, I was addicted to sugar, I must confess. And even though I was born to an Ayurvedic family, and my father, I used to sit with him during my childhood, and I saw all the people and he was treating, and he used to give some of the not so good tasting medicines, which are herbs. And whenever I fell sick, my parents would give that to me, and that had such a wrong association, just like the Pavlov's dog theory. So whenever they told me Ayurvedic medicine, I would run away and look for when can I get some sugar so that the aftertaste was not so good. And then I didn't have anything else to do in my life after I finished my schools. And my father said, you have to take over what we started. There is nobody else to take over the hospital and the pharmacy, so you have to study that. And then I studied Ayurveda, but during my Ayurvedic studies, I was still living an unhealthy life. It is quite like many doctors who smoke and tell the patients you should not smoke. I was one of the doctors who used to eat a lot of junk food and tell them not to do that. And I reached a point where my allergies went over the roof. Then I used to be scared of going to sleep because my nose would be puffed and I would sneeze, and my life was quite miserable. And then it reached such a state, then I realized I have to do this Panchakarma therapy on myself. And while I did that, I realized it is not an easy therapy because I was doing it in a 4-wall in a city hospital, and it was getting quite boring there. And all you had in entertainment was a television. And I don't understand why we had television at that time, but now I started realizing what it was. And then after this Panchakarma therapy, even though it was a hell for me for those 2 weeks, but it was about 2.5 to 3 weeks. But after I did that, my energy was phenomenal. Like I started seeing everything in a different way. I wake up in the morning fresh, I go to sleep deep, and I can breathe without the fear that my nose will get blocked. And my nourishment was better. Food I ate became good energy instead of that I need to eat. Before, whatever you eat, you're just getting tired after eating. And even though you sleep, you wake up, I woke up tired. So that shifted, and I realized this is such a fantastic therapy. This is what the world needs. Before I read it as a theory, and I was like a veterinary doctor giving it to patients. You just do it and get it. I don't care what you're going through. But then after I did this, then I realized this is not an easy task. You need to prepare a person, make them understand why we are doing what. Because the why behind something, every human being, once you know why behind what we do, our commitment naturally goes up. And that is why I started this place called Sitaram Beach Retreat, where we can do a real detox in our body and for our nervous system. And when I say detox in our nervous system, I mean detox from the world. Rather than focusing on the stimulus that the world is giving, we focus on the nature, the energy of nature. Because nobody said I spent time near the beach and I got depressed, or I went to the forest and surrounded myself in nature and I got depressed. But you'll see here people saying that I got stuck in a corporate world, I'm sitting in front of the computer and stuck in traffic jam, and they're getting depressed. The reason is our body is created from nature, and the more you are connected with nature, you are re-energizing your whole energy levels or your battery levels. So while doing Panchakarma, when you connect with nature, the result is it takes to another level. So understanding Panchakarma, one of the preparations of Panchakarma is you sleep on time, you eat on time, because our body is designed for rhythm. Just like the sun rises and sun sets, never once it misses. Maybe there are clouds that goes and blocks it, but it rises and sets. Every animal that you see, there are some night owls, but every animal is designed, it wakes up in the morning, you hear the birds making their beautiful orchestra and opera, and you know that it is morning. And we see how the animals are, it doesn't change according to that. And same is with us. There are certain aspects we cannot compromise because we have to surrender to biology. And the more we try to fight that, it is like fighting gravity. Sooner or later, you will have to give up, and the disease will force you to come back to nature. So when you see someone having burnout is the way the body is communicating. It's time to have a crash course on relaxation, because the body says, I'm done with what is going on, so I need to relax. So the preparation of Panchakarma is we put the person trying to go to sleep on time and eating on time. These are two things that are not happening, and these are two reasons why many people are sick today, because they are not eating on time, they are not sleeping on time. Now, when we say eating on time, usually people say you should always eat on time, or you should eat only when you're hungry. But according to Ayurveda, we have to train our lifestyle in such a way that we are hungry on time, and then we eat on time. So that is what we do. We bring back the hunger and we make that person hungry on time, and then we eat on time. And we eliminate all possible decision-making capacity of the patient. The only thing that they have to follow is they have to show up for the consultation, they have to show up for the treatment and food. And if they have a personal yoga, they do that, and then they go to sleep. And why I'm talking about what I'm doing here is, so this is also something we can integrate it at home. Eliminate as many unwanted decisions as possible, because our decision creates a lot of needs a lot of nervous energy. Just to give you an example, there was a study done in Israel on a judge who was giving parole to jailers. So what they found out, jailers who approached the judge in the morning time, 80% of them got the parole sanctioned. And who came later the day, 80% never got the sanction. Which means, see, decision is a very energy draining activity. In fact, the word decision comes from, I think, the Latin origin, means to cut off. And our brain has a problem. It wants everything, That is why we have so much difficulty to choose. Oh my God, should I choose this or should I choose that? If I choose this, then I'm going to miss out on this. And if I have that, then I'm going to miss out on this. Maybe I need to buy both of them, but I don't have so much of budget. So where do I go? And you keep on thinking, and then we miss out. So this is a lot of nervous energy. And when your nervous energy keeps utilized, it's a finite energy. Then when our nervous energy goes down, our tendency to stress goes up. And that means, again, our immunity goes down. So we eliminate wherever the decision-making process has to happen. That is why we don't have buffet here, and we want the person to sit, and the menu is already selected. And even there is one menu on certain days, but you have only two options, nothing much. So once you follow this protocol for a few days, then what happens is you start recovering how the nervous system was over abused. I mean, you start recovering and you start resetting how the nervous system functions. And parallelly, we do a lot of external stimulating therapies like oil massage, punching on the skin. Like we take a cotton cloth, we put a lot of herbs and tie it, and then we'll be punching the body. Why we do that? Because our body is not designed to do one of the most toxic behaviors that we are doing today, which is sitting. Our body is actually designed to move and run and escape and survive. That's why we have muscles. And there are some scientists who claim that the reason why we have a brain is so that we have control over our muscles, so we can run and escape. And when we are not using it, when we are sitting, what is happening is our body has something called as memory. Just like, if you have a paper, if you fold it, the paper will have that memory, and then you have to unfold it so that the old pattern will go away. Same way, our muscles are also having a memory. When you sit in one posture for a long period, the body tends to take up that posture. And when you keep on having that posture, depending on how your position is, the bones, and you can tend to start picking up pain in different parts. So by doing this punching, we are breaking that memory, changing that memory. So along with that, slowly we start oleating the internal body. Oleating means, in some people we give ghee, some people we give sesame oil. Now, what we do by that is, see, before you, let's say you have a late night dinner party and you're lazy to wash your plates. What you do is you pour some water and leave it overnight, so that the next morning it's much easier to wash it. The reason why we put the water overnight is so that it doesn't get sticky. The same way, when we put some oleation inside, the toxins that are stuck in our gut, it helps to be released. And according to Ayurveda, ama is very sticky in nature. So when you eat a lot of sugar, sugar is what? It is very sticky in nature. The most toxic food are the food that are sticky in nature. Just to understand if the food is toxic, after you eat, if you need a lot of detergent to wash the leftovers, that food is toxic, because the body has to go through the same procedure. So we give this oil or ghee, and then depending on which part of your body you are having the maximum toxins or toxic load, we use that exit for elimination. For example, if you have blocked nose, migraine, sinusitis, headaches, constant headaches, then we will do a therapy called as nasyam, where we pour oil to your nose. This will go and cleanse the body and you spit it out. The other thing is, when you have a lot of mucus in your upper respiratory tract, you get up in the morning and you have lots of mucus, or you have asthma history, you have bronchitis, or you are a mucus factory, or you tend to eat a lot of sugar and you create a lot of mucus, or you have a history of binge eating, binge drinking, or including depression. What we do is we imitate what the dog does. What does the dog do when it doesn't feel good? It goes and eats the grass, and afterward it just vomits. Same way, we prepare a herbal drink and make you drink, and all the toxins will come out. But this is not something we do for everyone. In some people who undergo these problems, and if they have the willpower to do it, we do that. Now, the third procedure is, this is something that is quite common. We do it in most people, except if they are suffering from diseases like irritable bowel syndrome or fistula or hemorrhoids. Apart from that, if you're having overweight, if you're having skin rashes, if you're having acne or menstrual cycle, or now we have this condition called Polycystic Ovarian syndrome or fertility problems. What we do is we give a special herb. It goes and irritates the intestines, and you will have a therapeutic diarrhea. By doing that, we are actually cleaning the whole intestines. See, one of my professors, he did a stool sample of a person who had food poison and had diarrhea, and who did the Ayurvedic preparation of Panchakarma and did the purgation of a Panchakarma. And what he found out, the stool sample of diarrhea from food poison had 2 to 3 free radicals. Free radicals are a name for toxins. Whereas a person who underwent the ghee therapy in Ayurveda and underwent the therapeutic diarrhea, his stool sample had over 30 different free radicals, like the toxins. So the toxic load in our body gets more eliminated. But however, this is just a random study that was done. This is not something that can be published, because if you need to publish, you need to have it at least more than 100 cases. But just to give you an understanding, I have personally seen people, we do the blood test before and after, and what we see is just phenomenal changes in the blood reports. So this is the third therapy. And the fourth therapy is if they are having conditions like arthritis or brain fog or abdominal distension or endometriosis, one of the most common diseases that you see in women today, and constipation. What we do is we do this therapy called as Vasti, which is also called as enema. In Ayurveda, enema is considered as the king of all therapies. And reason why we do enema, you cannot clean the last part of the intestine by taking some medicine through the mouth. because by the time it reaches the end part of the intestine, the liver will go and stop it. So the only way you can escape the liver's interference, like a police interference, you need to get into the home through the back door, which is what we call it as enema. So you have to, please don't try it at home like how I say. This has to be done under proper medical supervision. And in Ayurveda, we don't follow coffee enemas, or there are so many soap water enemas. Every enema that we do has a preparation and a base of an oil, because the intestine is mucous membrane and it has a lot of oil requirements. So everything, it has oil. So enema is done in them. And then the fifth therapy of Panchakarma. By the way, Panchakarma means 5 rituals, and the fifth one is bloodletting. Bloodletting, let's say you have a pond in your home. And if the water is dirty, what some people do is we dry up the pond with a mortar so that the fresh water comes back. Same way, we don't eliminate the whole of blood. Then we will die. About 200 to 300 ml of blood is eliminated from a person. In ancient times, we used leech. Even today, we use leech, but not to every person who has the sensitive skin, because the leech can sometimes create some sensitivity to some people. In such people, what we do is we just use a sterile butterfly needle and eliminate a little bit of blood. Because after the gut is clean, little bit of the toxins are still left in the blood. So when you eliminate a little bit of blood, the fresh blood is produced. See, according to the World Health Organization, you can do blood donation of 500 ml every 3 months, as long as you are not anemic or pregnant or not during your menstrual cycle, or if you have low blood pressure. As long as you don't have these conditions, you can donate blood every 3 months. This is a way of recycling. Okay, when I say this, some people ask me, so that means am I not giving my unhealthy blood to someone? See, this blood donation is going to a person who is dying. So when a dying person is not really concerned about the quality of the blood, he just wants to live. So this is something that you can do that, and especially when it comes to many different kinds of allergies or high levels of uric acid or gout, bloodletting is something that I highly recommend. Even with people who are having high blood pressure or psoriasis, psoriatic condition, eczema, dermatitis. But in dermatitis, skin disorders, we also do the purgation followed with the bloodletting and a lot of other external therapies, because their skin is always dry. Along with these 5 therapies, we don't do all the 5 therapies in one person at a time. We just restrict to 2 to 3 therapies during your visit. In some people, we do 3 therapies. Some people, we can go up to 4. And there are people to whom we did almost 5 therapies. But that's like 1 in 100 cases. So along with these therapies, we do a lot of external cleansing, like oil massage, steaming, like we talked about punching. And then there are therapies that calm down the nervous system, like Shirodhara, because this is called as the third eye chakra. Sometimes when people are upset, they keep the hand like this. In this part, when you keep pouring oil or a special liquid, it instantly calms down the nervous system. It brings back all the good hormones. So along with this detox, parallelly when you do these therapies and you are not exposed to so much of outside world, we tell people, please get rid of your work emails, put an auto reminder. Unless you are going to get an email that we are going to find a vaccine for corona, please don't look at it. Always focus on just be with yourself and be as connected with nature. Spend time, watch the sunset, and swim on the beach. On certain days, we limit that because during the cleansing days, you have to stay in the room and be protected. And if it is a windy day, you have to stay indoors. And after all this, about 2 to 3 weeks, the person is completely rejuvenated. A little bit of sweet will taste like heaven. A little bit of salt will be enough. And one person said, okay, before I need like 4 glasses of wine to go to sleep. Now just the smell of wine itself makes me fall asleep, or I don't need wine at all because my natural energy to go to sleep is there. So we bring back that natural feedback system in our body, and your ability to focus is better. Little bit of food will give you good energy, and then your energy is so good, you don't want to lose that. So our tendency to fall back to old habits can also come down. So in a nutshell, this is what is Panchakarma. So if you have questions, I can take them.
Thank you, Dr. Vignesh. That was amazing. I mean, having done a Panchakarma twice, I can't actually recommend it enough. It was, and I think I did almost all of the treatments, and I came back completely renewed. What was amazing as well is that for 3 months after doing it, your body's still processing a lot of it. And I found the healing continued, you know, and I felt at my optimum 3 months afterwards.
Oh yes, it's a never-ending process.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was saying there is a podcast. If you listen to podcasts, there's a podcast called Ayurvedic Healing and Beyond. I record many of these topics in that podcast. You can listen to all of that. I can just type it in that notes. You can just share it. It's called Ayurvedic Healing and Beyond.
Fantastic. Yes, please. Just type it in the chat. Yes. Helen, to answer you, everybody can unmute themselves as they want to speak with absolute pleasure.
Ah, okay. So can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, firstly, Dr. Vignesh, just fantastic to see you again. I can't wait to be there in November. Yeah, I've been a couple of years. I have a wonderful long association with Dr. Vignesh and Sitaram. And he actually came out to South Africa. I brought him out last year. And maybe some of you actually had the pleasure of learning in more detail with him. So just a huge thank you for, continuing to bring your knowledge. And of course, thank you to Elaine for setting all of this up so fantastically. And just to also say that the experience is actually a very, very nourishing, a very nurturing experience, and that the quality of care is unlike I've ever experienced. There's a particular Indian way, well, a particular way of Sitaram, but it also is quite seeped in an Indian way of such graciousness and such kindness and such a level of personal care that I would highly, highly recommend it. And just to say that I am an Ayurvedic practitioner here in Cape Town, if anyone would like to contact me, and that I do organize for people to go to Sitaram at any time. So yeah, just to use this platform to say if anyone would like to go to Sitaram, please do contact me. And thanks so much, Elaine and Dr. Vignesh.
Thank you so much.
Can't wait for November. Those flights had better be open.
Well, that's the thing. So I want to add to that, Helen, if you could go into the chat and just put down your phone number and contact details, just type it in so that I can get hold of you.
Thank you.
I'll do it as well. And I do hope that we can all fly sooner than later. So I hope that it happens in November. Are there other from Phil? I have a question, because this was a conversation that I was asked the other day, and I wanted from your point of view, someone who has leaky gut, Panchakarma. What is, if you could explain? I know it's a probably longer conversation, but just physically what happens with leaky gut.
Okay, let me just draw something. So Okay, can you all see this?
Yeah.
It says crisscross. Okay, imagine this is a mosquito net. Okay, mosquito net is what? You know, you don't want the mosquitoes to enter, but you want the oxygen to enter the room so you can breathe. But we just don't want that unwanted mosquitoes to enter. So if we eat a lot of sugar, and our gut is just like this mosquito net, and when you eat a lot of sugar, the sugar can go and cover up the whole mosquito net. So as a way to remove the sticky part in the mosquito net, our body releases a lot of acids. And this is why people, they say, when I eat chocolate or something spicy or something sweet, I get acidity. It's the way the body is creating that, because they train their body to have that. So when they keep eating that, the body tends to release the sticky stuff, and you will have lots of holes in these mosquito net. And that is what we call it as leaky gut. So in Ayurveda, how we treat it, in order to change leaky gut, you just need to change your diet. You need to stick to a schedule. And along with that, when you do a lot of nervous system detoxification, and depending on the severity of leaky gut, see, leaky gut is not a modern Western medicine creation. It is something that came up with a concept called as functional medicine. And functional medicine is a branch that came out of the Western medicine. They wanted to prove that we are not dysfunctional medicine, we are functional medicine. So we see that there could be holes in the gut, and that could create unwanted bloating, gases, and the person feels tired and heavy after food. So in order to change that, Ayurveda has one of the most profound ways of healing that. And one way, if you're having it at home, what I would recommend is minimize artificial sugars. I won't say minimize, eliminate artificial sugars and go to natural sugar. And have your heavy meals during lunchtime and have early dinners. And make sure your recovery is very good, and avoid all snacking with junk foods. And hydrate yourself, hyperhydrate. And avoid frozen food, take warm water.
I have one more question about that. If someone doesn't necessarily eat a lot of sugary food, what other foods are not ideal for one's nutrition that, you know, can create a leaky gut or bad digestion?
See, leaky gut is it's not just sugar that creates that, it's also alcohol can create that. Extremely fried and spicy food can create that. And if the food has a lot of preservatives, that can also create this. And even lactose like cheese and all of that can also create that.
That's great. Thank you. Who else wants to ask, really, while we've got him here? Yes, Liz, go ahead.
Hi. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Vignesh. I would like to ask you, you said in question time we could ask the difference between eating for hunger and eating for boredom, or yeah, if you could just address that, please.
So we are designed to feel safe when we eat. That's how our body is designed. And food industry knows this, that it is a great non-prescriptive anti-anxiety and antidepressant pill, like chocolate, sugar, all of that. And I think very soon, looking at the alarming rate of obesity and diabetes, we soon, just like the cigarette packets are having smoking kills, soon we will have sugar packets saying this can create a lot of health problems. So how to come out of that? One of the greatest influencing factor for our habits is the environment. So if you feel that you are having a tendency or you crave for unhealthy food, keep a journal and write down every time you have this craving, write it down. And when you write it down, think what exactly is creating this urge. Is it like I'm bored with something, or I'm not having any mental stimulation, what it is. In such conditions, write that down and look for another way of stimulating yourself in a healthy way. It could be that I read something interesting, or I do some yoga, or I go for a walk in nature, instead of going for that craving. And you cannot get rid of this like an instant pill. It might take 2 to 3 weeks, but be very ruthlessly honest in your documentation in your cravings journal. This is a fantastic way to become aware of where the trigger pattern is happening. And once you identify the trigger, you can easily change that. And then slowly you will start getting rid of, and also get rid of all the unhealthy food at your home. The more access you have to that, the more you are, you have to fight to not to take it. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
I see there, Mandy, your hand is raised. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, so hi, thank you. I just wanted to ask, so mentioning functional medicine, do you have a recommended title of, I know it takes really long to become a doctor, but just a recommended title or book where we can begin to learn about this, and then the functional medicine side, the scientific explanation behind all the cleanses and practices? Because I have a very basic one that I think was written by Shivananda, but it's not.
You're asking about functional medicine or Ayurveda?
Well, Ayurveda in general, like just the medicinal side, like a good book that's a summary of the science of it.
I would recommend, there is a book called The Prime.
It's called
Prime, Prime,
The Prime. Okay, thank you.
It has a blend of both.
Okay, cool.
May I also suggest anything by Dr. Vasant Lad? He has some wonderful
Yes,
books.
Dr. Vasant Lad is also, if you want to learn about functional medicine and Ayurveda, read Prime. But if you want to read about Ayurvedic lifestyle, you can read about Dr. Vasant Lad. And also, one thing that I recommend is Dr. Robert Swoboda. There's a book called Prakriti. It's a fantastic book.
Mm.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Please.
Dr. Vignesh, thank you very much for the talk. I've really enjoyed it. I have a question just regarding anemia. So you mentioned it in undernutrition or malnutrition, and I've just been vegetarian for many years and have some problems more with the absorption of iron. And I wondered if you could just advise what you can do for something like that.
Okay, so by the way, first thing I want to tell you, when you are vegetarian and anemic, there is a high possibility many people would come and say that it's because you're not eating meat. Let me tell you, I've seen so many anemic patients who are purely meat eaters. So by the way, you also mentioned that I'm having difficulty in iron absorption. See, iron absorption can also happen if there is vitamin deficiency, like for example, especially vitamin D deficiency. So if you can spend time in morning sun, but I don't know, I think it's winter time in South Africa right now.
Yeah,
but if you have a possibility to watch the sunrise and sunset, do that. This will help. Or take some vitamin supplements. And some of the fruits and vegetables that I recommend, pomegranate, dark raisins. Take a lot of that. Dates and also broccoli, spinach, both green and red spinach. All of this will help to improve your iron absorption. And also, if you can buy the Ayurvedic herbal product called Triphala, if you can take 1 or 2 tablets per day, this will also help to improve your iron absorption. You can take it up to 3 months.
Thank you very much. That helps a lot.
And by the way, I also see that anemia and anxiety, I've seen these two go together. So when a person is having anemia, their tendency to get anxiety goes up because their energy is low, so they tend to overreact. Or if they have a tendency to overreact, then also, it's like chicken and egg. So try to work on the anemic part also. I mean, the anxiety part also. This will also something that can parallelly help you.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much.
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vignesh. It was fantastic. I loved every minute, and correlated with a lot of things that I've read over the years. I don't always do things right, but I have read a lot, and it was just lovely to hear affirmation, some new information. So thank you for that. What prompted me to ask you a question is because Lisa just asked you about iron. Now, I have a daughter who has severe vitamin B12 deficiency. She eats meat. I'm a vegan and don't have it, but she eats meat and she doesn't. So she doesn't have a vitamin D deficiency. Her iron levels are fine. It's just her B12. She is very anxious and has other mental health problems, and a lot of allergies that have seemed to have disappeared over the years. They came suddenly and then they all disappeared. But the ongoing problem that she has is vitamin B12, and the doctor just goes, go for shots, and then come back to me in 3 months' time, and let's see if they've gone back to normal. And not to have the pill, she says that the pill won't be absorbed properly. Do you have any suggestions food-wise?
How old is she?
She's 26.
And is it something since childhood that is happening, or only in the recent years that you diagnosed her?
Probably the last 10, 12 years.
So the last 10, 12 years she's been having it.
Yeah.
Okay, so and taking vitamin supplements are also not helping her.
No, not necessarily. She takes, and she takes basic stuff like she doesn't take a probiotic because she doesn't remember. I ask her to. She takes vitamin D once a week. She takes a large amount, a high dose once a week, and she has vitamin C.
Okay, and is she also
Pardon?
Is she also having anemia?
No. Iron levels apparently are fine.
Okay. See, in such condition, what I would recommend is food elimination technique and recovering. Usually, when I see such vitamin deficiencies, there is a high possibility their sleep is disturbed or the sleeping pattern is highly irregular.
Well, yes, all of us.
So what happens is once you correct their sleep, and maybe they are addicted to smartphone at late night and they are not having proper sleep. And when the sleep is disturbed, their absorption is also highly affected.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Thank you. I will relay.
And that is why, see, there is no medicine that can replace a good sleep.
I
would recommend you focus on fixing her sleep schedule.
I will definitely relay that information to her. Thank you so much.
Elaine.
Hi, Amy.
Can I ask something?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Vignesh.
Hi, Amy.
We've actually spoken briefly on the phone by WhatsApp, and it was lovely to hear you chat in person. I have a question for you. I have a chronic condition called cystitis. And, I have followed a lot of the Western medicine protocols for it, and nothing seems to have really worked. And it's a chronic infection that doesn't want to go away. And the doctors have also diagnosed me now with fibromyalgia, which is an autoimmune condition. But it's more so to do with pain, because I get a lot of pain from this continuous infection in the body. So is there anything that you would recommend or suggest from your
if you're open for a personal consultation, I would be in a much better position to recommend you the right things, because Fibromyalgia, okay, according to me, fibromyalgia is a name given by the Western doctors who don't know how to come to an understanding of what's going on in a person's body. So we have a different approach to this, and I don't look at it as fibromyalgia. I look at it in a different perspective. Like that's how an Ayurvedic doctor looks into it. So unless you're open for a consultation, I will not be able to give you the right specific recommendations.
Yes. How would I go about doing a consultation?
I can send the details to Helen or Elaine. You can get in touch with them and they will give you the.
Okay. That's perfect. Thank you, Dr. Vignesh.
You're welcome.
I'll pass it on, Amy.
Thank you, Elaine.
Carla, do you want to, she wanted to ask you a question. Carla.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. Signal literally broke up when we spoke about fibro. And can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Sorry, okay. My question is, hello.
Yes.
What type of eating, like, like, what do you eat? Do you eat meat? Do you not eat meat? What must I do?
So, what's the question?
What's the question? What do you want to know exactly?
First, I want to know why my signal is bad, like right now.
I think she heard we were discussing fibro, and then she's asking with regards to that if she should eat meat or not eat meat.
Yeah, I just want to know what type of what eating regime or eating plan would you recommend for people with fibro? Sorry, my signal is really bad now.
Did you say fiber or fiber? If people are having fiber. Sorry, I didn't understand that. Can somebody explain to me?
He's talking about a fibromyalgia.
Oh, fibromyalgia. Okay.
She's referring to, yes.
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't think meat in such has anything particular to do with fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia has, in my observation, fibromyalgia has a lot to do with unresolved emotional issues, followed with unhealthy lifestyle, and they didn't deal it when it really created, and that just got suppressed in the body, and it exploded in different parts of the body called pain. And then the modern doctors try to give painkillers, and the painkillers also gave up. So we have a disease with an unknown cause, and we don't have a cure. So it has to go hand in hand with a lot of physical detox, at the same time a lot of emotional healing as well. In my experience, this is what gave fantastic results to the patients who I have treated. But I'm not saying there is one size that fits all for fibromyalgia. So when it comes to diet, there is nothing particular that I've seen that meat creates fibromyalgia or meat makes it worse. However, if they have a tendency of holding on to water in the extremities, then I would recommend to avoid salt or fried salty food and alcohol and coffee rather than meat.
Sorry, doctor. Erythritol, the sweetener, is that also like a no-no?
Could you say that again?
How do you pronounce it, Elaine? Erythritol? Or?
I mean, at bottom line, she's asking about alternate sweeteners. And I would say no. No alternative. Just forget.
Okay, more. Okay. Thank you, doctor.
Sweeteners are terrible. They've got so many chemicals in anyway.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I think if you would had to sweeten your food, honey would be a good option because it's completely natural.
Yes, as long as the honey is not adulterated, it's fine.
Yes.
Thanks, Carla. Maureen.
Yes, thank you for your talk. I have two very different questions. The one is about polycystic ovaries, My daughter has polycystic ovaries. You didn't mention it in your talk, but if you could just repeat some simple things one can do to the best simple things you can do to help that.
Usually with polycystic ovary, if they have hair growth and too much of body heat, and if the menstrual cycle is painful, what I would recommend, hydration is very important, and eliminating cold and frozen food, and get them into yoga and exercise. I would say the best is sun salutations and exercising, and definitely eating on time and sleeping on time. If they do this, they will make some surgeons jobless.
Thank you. And my other very different question is, you said there's nothing better than a good night's sleep. Do you have any opinion on too much sleep? Someone who just sleeps too much. Are you doing good?
If they're sleeping too much, if that is affecting their daily life, then it could be a problem. But if it is not, they can sleep.
Excellent answer. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Can I ask about the eating on time thing? What do you recommend? Yes. Is it 3 meals a day? Is it 5 small meals? Intermittent fasting? There's just way too much information out there to have a clear picture of what's right.
Yeah. When it comes to nutrition, this is the most controversial topic than God and religion. So when it comes to what is eating right, I would say the best way is start tracking what you eat and how you feel afterwards. First thing. And second thing, if you want to lose weight, and if you want to feel more energetic, less is always better. And instead of, you can never eat for let's imagine there is going to be a shortage of food for the next 3 days. You cannot eat for the next 3 days in one sitting today. You still, after 4 or 5 hours, you're going to again get hunger. So limit your food. You can have up to 5 times the food as long as it is less, and train your body in such a way that your hunger is on time, and then you eat little. That is one of the best advices that I can recommend.
And by on time, do you just mean around the same time every day?
Yes, like today, if I'm eating at 12 noon, and try to fix 12 noon as a eating time. You can keep a buffer of about half an hour, 45 minutes, but not more than that.
Thank you.
See, the body loves timing when it comes to the natural things.
Sorry, it loves what?
The body loves to have proper schedule.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Somebody asked about, and it seems it's getting late for you, I know. So maybe the last few
that's my answer for insomnia, because yawning is contagious.
Somebody asked about insomnia now. Michelle just asked about insomnia. Are you still on, Michelle? Put your sound on.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
If sleep is the best medicine and sleep does not come easily, other than trying to establish a routine, what can you recommend for sleeplessness?
Okay, first thing we have to understand, sleep is not a performance sports. This is something that comes with practice, and it's a habit. So a few things that I recommend: train yourself that I am going to get good night's sleep every night. Usually what is happening is we live in a culture where sleep is told as it's not healthy. You don't need that much sleep. Anyway, after I die, I'm going to sleep a lot. These kind of mentality and beliefs have come in. So what you do is prepare the bed in such a way that it is really inviting. And if you're not falling asleep on your bed, get out of your bed and read something that is really boring. Don't watch anything that is stimulating. So these are one of the ways to get into, see, mental stimulation and your engagement of your mind is the greatest antidote for good sleep. So if you get overstimulated, then it will affect your sleep. So try to shift that. And after 8 o'clock, just warm down yourself that it is coming to an end and now I'm going to sleep and there is nothing else to do. And slowly you will fall asleep. And taking a good night, a shower, warm shower before that, and rubbing oil on your palms and on your feet and a little bit on your head. This will also give you good sleep. These are some techniques that I recommend. And there are some herbs that you can check it online. Maybe that is available in some shops. It is called as ashwagandha.
Yes. Ashwagandha.
Lainey, could you write that in the notes for us?
Ashwagandha or tagara. Tagara is also a tablet. Take 1 or 2 before you go to sleep, after dinner.
An hour before sleep.
Yes. This will also help. And avoid screen time after some, at least 2 hours before you go to sleep. Don't read anything like suspense or thriller. Mental stimulation is the greatest enemy of good sleep. Sorry.
Can I ask, okay, so now we want to come to your clinic and we want to do this process. How long do we need? Do we need a few weeks?
Since you're flying from South Africa, I would recommend 14 to 18 days. Because the flight is a very long flight to Dubai and then you fly. You will need at least 1 or 2 days to recover from that flight. So if you can invest about 16 days or 18 days, that will be the best.
Is it Mumbai?
No, it's in Cochin. The best person to ask that is Helen. She will be able to help you and guide you with that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Can I ask you last question?
Yes, please.
Sorry.
Yes,
that lady. Did you want to say something else?
No.
To the other lady, Les.
No, I just, Sherry, before you chat, Les, if you can just in the chat box, leave your cell phone number and send me a WhatsApp and I will give you all the information that you're looking for and pass on Helen's phone number as well. Both of us have been there, so we can just guide you with that. And just so that everybody knows, if you haven't been to this kitchen conversation, this is your first time, I'm going to put my cell phone number and just join every Thursday. There's always going to be something uplifting, educational for our health. So, Sherry, it's over to you.
Thank you. Just one last quick question. Do you have any advice? I am a 61-year-old, psoriatic arthritis. I have, apparently, although I've never had it again since 2014 when I had it over my entire body and they put me on a chemo pill called methotrexate, which I eventually went off on my own accord, and I've been fine ever since on great food, rather. But and I'm a complete vegan as of 7 months ago. I was always a vegetarian, but now I'm a vegan. And I believe that I don't need any supplementation, that it's enough to eat correctly. But I do take supplements because I'm over 60 and everybody tells me to. So do you recommend that I should continue with supplements in my diet, or should food be able to be complete enough that I wouldn't have to take anything external in pill form or supplementation?
If your food has enough variety, you don't need supplements. And if your digestion is also good, and if you're not feeling tired, if you're not having any kind of problems, then you don't need supplements. Food is the best supplement we can have.
Okay. That's what I thought.
But however, make sure your fruits and get a lot of seasonal fruits, because seasonal fruits is the best supplements that we can take.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I will.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have one more question? We can take one more question and then.
Last question. Yes.
So I've been a vegetarian for 4 years, and I've recently gone back to eating chicken because I really struggle to digest properly, like beans, legumes, any of the sources of protein for a vegetarian. Have any advice, like, you know, am I maybe deficient, or I'm sorry, not deficient, am I intolerant to these foods, or is it something else?
No, it's just that if you're having bloating, when they say I'm not able to digest beans and this, it's just that they are having bloating. Do you feel you're having bloating feelings?
Yeah, bloating, like bad gas.
Bloating and gas, these are usually created due to incompatible food. Incompatible food means when you mix it with unhealthy, two different food that don't go well together, then this can create this bloating. So avoid too much of sugar with proteins. Sugar and proteins together, that create a lot of gas. So if you're having beans or legumes, boil it and have it just that for some time. And maybe you could have some salad along with that.
Okay.
But if you mix it with lots of milk or cold food or heavy sugar or desserts, then in some people it can create a lot of gas and bloating.
Cool. Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you so much for all your input.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Helen.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us and for staying up as late as you have. And yeah, and hopefully, please God, one day I'll be able to come and visit again when we can fly internationally. Yes. I'll come and visit, definitely.
Yes. So. We hope the Corona gods will show their mercy. Let's see.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.